Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we are talking about how an insider who has a history of teasing future Nintendo announcements has teased another, seemingly for the summer. I believe I know what it is, but it is cryptic, there is room for interpretation here, and well, it's certainly going to lead for some interesting discussion, I think. So that's what we're getting into today. All I ask is that you sit back, hear me out, and let me know what you think at the end of the video in the comments below. So the tease or hint is coming from Nintendo, where you have this series of emojis here. And I've already seen some people trying to make the argument that this means nothing, but if you've been paying attention, you would understand that this does mean something. Nintendo has a history of teasing things in this fashion. It's been confirmed several times. And it's definitely out of the ordinary for Nintendo to do this when normally all they do is post different deals about Nintendo. So when they do this, they're actually sharing some inside information and teasing something. Just some examples, they teased the reveal date for the Nintendo Switch 2 with this tweet right here. Because they said, will you be, BEE being the official product code for Nintendo Switch 2, picking up Donkey Kong Country Returns with a capitalized S where it shouldn't be, and also further capitalizing the S in the image as well. For those that don't know, the Switch 2 was revealed on the same day as Donkey Kong Country Returns HD coming out for Switch 1. But then we have other recent tweets where Nintendo had simply posted Xenoblade, and then retweeted this when Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, was announced. But then there's been also some suggestion there might be another Xenoblade thing later this year, but we'll talk about that another time. And then also, Nintendo had done the Zelda remake thing before all the Zelda Ocarina of Time remake reports have come out, and now various outlets are reporting that this is going to be happening later this year. We shall see, but this is just kind of the thing that Nintendo does, and there's a history of his teases in this form actually materializing into legitimate announcements. And so, looking at this, what is Nintendo getting at here? Friend of the channel, Nishquick Pops, is trying to imagine it as something having to do with Fire Emblem. I can tell he doubts it, but I also doubt it as well. I don't think it has anything to do with Fire Emblem. Some people are speculating it might be related to Deltarune. There's a whole bunch of people that are talking about this, but Nintendo confirms it's not about Deltarune, which also strongly implies that yes, he is teasing something and not just posting random emojis for no reason. And then Dark Cloud here asks, you know the Nintendo Direct date? Nintendo says he does not know anything about a Direct. So it's not those things. What is this? Quite frankly, I think it has to do with Pikmin. Why do I think it has to do with Pikmin? Well, you have a blue flower, a yellow flower, and a red flower. Pikmin bloom, they have flowers on their heads, and the core three, the primary colors of Pikmin are the blue Pikmin, the yellow Pikmin, and the red Pikmin. So if you're going to be teasing something with emojis about a Nintendo release, this is probably the way you would go about doing it. Here he has an arrow with soon, and then he has a sun. So my belief here is that Nintendo is teasing that there is going to be some kind of Pikmin release or announcement soon to come out this summer. That's what I think this is getting at here. I will say it's worth mentioning that Nintendo this morning just announced Pixel Nico, a mobile game that has to do with taking pictures and doing fun little things with pictures. Some people might think that perhaps Nintendo was teasing this, however, Nintendo has posted about this game and has made no indication that it's related to the tease in any way, and also there's nothing about this game that seems to relate to the tease, so I doubt it. Now, interestingly, we go a couple months back, Nate the Hate had put out his podcast, and in that podcast, one of several things he mentioned that could be coming on this summer is a Pikmin 4 Nintendo Switch 2 edition. And if you've been following, a lot of the leaks from that Nate the Hate podcast have already been confirmed. Splatoon Raiders in the summer, we got confirmation in July, as expected, that was the predicted date. And also Star Fox, which was said to be coming out in June to open up the summer, that has now been confirmed, and the details about Star Fox, such as it being a graphical showcase, having some significant online mode, being a traditional Star Fox title, all those things that we heard about have all been proven true. So the leak is looking very strong. Nate the Hate already has a great track record. He's heard about a Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition coming out this summer. things are aligning here. But to also point this out, we heard about a Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition well before this from Nash Weedle on July 6th, 2025, all the way last year. Nash Weedle had said, "Heads up, Pikmin 4 will be one of the next games to get an upgrade on Switch 2. I've heard the rumor that it'll be a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which would mean some added content, but I haven't been able to verify this." And so we've been hearing about a Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition for some time from some different people who have shown a history of getting at least some things right, or a lot of things right. And now Nintendo is talking about this too, seemingly. It's all lining up here. I think, yeah, this is a tease for a Pikmin 4 Nintendo Switch 2 edition to come out this summer. And perhaps this is an indicator that the announcement is not that far off. We've actually seen that Nintendo has liked to pair main releases with like a Switch 2 edition per month, or more than just one release per month. Late June we are getting Star Fox, but could Nintendo be putting out a very quick turnaround for another Switch 2 edition here that has to do with Pikmin 4 in June? I think it's certainly possible. We already have 2 releases for July in Rhythm Heaven and Splatoon Raiders, so I do feel like a Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition in July is less likely. Of course, August, September, those are also possibilities for the summer. We don't quite know what Nintendo has planned for those months yet, although I anticipate Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave would be coming out around then. We'll see. It has already been rated, so that does bode well, and we also got the rating for Splatoon Raiders, and then we got a release date soon after, so that's promising. But what would this Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition be? I recognize that some people wouldn't necessarily be super excited for another Switch 2 edition, but I think it's important to remind everyone that Switch 2 editions can be exciting, can be a big deal. Now, typically I enjoy the Switch 2 editions that are brand new releases, like in the case of Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZA, but I do think there are times where it's certainly worth revisiting. Like we look at the Switch 2 edition for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, they've added a whole bunch of new levels with better visuals. Like, that's new content there, that's basically significant DLC. It's not like you have to buy the whole game again. These Switch 2 editions, if you already have the main game, is just a $10 or $20 upgrade, so basically yes, it's DLC with improved visuals. And so Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition, I would imagine, would have Switch 2 mouse controls, be running at a smooth 60 frames per second across the board, with a significantly higher resolution, which I think would greatly benefit Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 is a very detailed game, but something I think it's a little bit lacking in is the resolution, given that it came out for the Switch 1. On Switch 2, I think it would look fantastic, way better. But the big thing here is the new content, if that is planned. What could that new content entail? Well, I hope it's not just another, like, weird multiplayer mode. I want, like, a whole other quest here. It doesn't have to be, like, the size of the main game, but, like, kind of like an expansion quest. Maybe something more deeply tied to what's going on with Louis, for example. That's a possibility. Or maybe another side venture having to do with Olimar. And if it's not going to be that, or maybe if that's just part of it, perhaps something else they could do is give us more nighttime missions, because that was very interesting in a different style of Pikmin gameplay. That would be very fun. Maybe introducing a challenge mode to replay the game, especially if they're adding mouse controls, which gives us a different way to interact with the Pikmin this time around. That would give us even more reason to play through the game again. So I'll say that I've actually been anticipating a Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition for some time. This is one of the ones that I really would like to go back to and replay if there's some good quality new content here. So I'm actually optimistic about this one. Now, something else I'll point out, because I know you always have those people that are the doubters, and they're never going to stop doubting, and of course, you should have some level of doubt, because this is not confirmed. It's still a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt, even though I do think it's well evidenced. That doesn't guarantee this is exactly what's going to happen, so again, yes, take it with a grain of salt. But I'll just say, last week we were talking about some things said by Attack the Backlog and others, and there was this concern that it might link to a partner showcase. That's what some different insiders were suggesting. However, looking at tweets by Attack the Backlog, I suspected one of the possibilities that it might be just tied to a game that some people might see in a partner showcase, and that's why there was that conversation. And one of the ideas I put out there was that perhaps Attack the Backlog was hearing about an update for The Adventures of Elliot, like a new demo. And well, last night, Attack the Backlog confirmed, he was throwing me some props there saying, I'm good, that yeah, that's what he was getting at, a new demo for The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales, and here it is, the confirmation. We see that image, prologue demo. So yeah, that's what's going on, and so I'm just putting it out there. These teases do amount to things. Maybe we'll find out about this Pikmin 4 Switch edition or whatever it is relatively soon. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.